What's going on, everybody? It's Harold here. As you can see and hear, I am still a little husky in my voice, and my cough is kind of touch and go. And here's the thing: dealing with sickness as a parent, and while your kids are sick and your wife is sick, it is hard. Um, I haven't quite mastered the art of dealing with this, but I could share with you what I've come to learn. Number one, I found that you have to be very prepared before things happen. Should be a no duh. Again, I think I talked about this in my last video, but I grew up a Boy Scout. Their motto was be prepared. Somehow in the last 14 years, that kind of escaped me. And that's part of the realities of parenting. Like you gotta work, and then you gotta take care of your kids' needs, and then you gotta take care of like your daily stuff. Like the house is kind of looking crazy right now, but I need to take care of other stuff before I deal with that because, well, we're gonna have to clean it later anyway. That's the other thing. In addition to being prepared, by the way, what does that mean? Well, a couple weeks ago we had a power outage. Get those backup Jennies before a power outage comes. We don't live in an area where that's common, but it still happens. We are in probably the coldest winter that we've had when it does get cold. So you want to do that in advance, or at least have like firewood ready and backup lanterns and things like that. Have your sick care items ready as well. Children's Tylenol, the snot sucker. Try to do as much front-loaded research, but you don't always know. So that, if you don't have it all together, it's okay, but you got to learn. The second thing is really cut down on to just the essentials for as far as priorities go. When you get hit with the sickness and your kids are ill, no matter how many kids you got, and your wife is getting ill, you got to take care of you guys. And that includes yourself. I know you want to put everything on your kids. That's what I want to do, feed them the best stuff, get them dressed, spend all your energy on them. That's really important. Of course, they got a lot of needs. But the moment you run out of gas, they got nothing to take care of them. And if it's just you and your wife, you're in some trouble there. So make sure you're getting enough sleep, you're getting enough fluids, you're getting the right kind of foods. You're going to the doctor frequently when you need to, and take time off work when you have to. For me, I'm carrying most of the occupational load right now, and my wife's doing the real stuff, which is like the stay-at-home parenting for the most part. So me taking time off, that's time out, that's money out of our paycheck, money to pay the mortgage, to pay the doctor bills, all that stuff. Don't stop working, but when you have to take the days off, take those days off and do it early. You nip this sickness in the bud, you get better faster. Might not always work out, but it's better to do that now than later. Set your boundaries when it comes to sickness. I'm in patient care. You sure as hell better believe, like, when there's like peak illness, I am ultra strict on that masking. Good hand hygiene. Wear that mask. When you're too sick to work, don't work. When a patient comes into work, or you have a coworker coming into work and they look kind of ill, they're not on the tail end. They're, at the beginning, like, oh, I think I'm coming down with something. I think I might have like really bad allergies. Go home. You live to fight another day. When it comes to like physical therapy, there are cases where there's urgent things, but a lot of times it comes down to rest and recovery when it comes to, getting a bacterial infection. And again, checking with the doctor, not just you checking with your doctor, but as a patient advocate, I make sure my patients, hey, go to the doctor. Get the medication you need. Don't try to Google or WebMD it yourself. That never works out. Okay. So be prepared as best as you can, prioritize, and set your boundaries. These are things that I've learned. And, it's the consequences of not following through, or when, shit just hits the fan and you can't handle it. Well, this is what happens. Like, on a regular basis, this happened yesterday morning as well. I'm getting ready to go to work, and usually I'm like, I hate to say this, but I tend to run late. It's not out of intention. It's not out of lack of professionalism. It's because when we get the kids ready for daycare, especially while they're sick, but even when they're not, they got their wants and needs. Sometimes they might be very stalwart about the clothes they wear, refusing breakfast, wanting to play. And like, in addition to that, we got to make sure we're dressed and ready for the day. Got to take care of our morning stuff, make sure we're fed as well. Make sure we are, taking care of like our hygiene needs. It sounds really, really basic, like you don't even think about it, but those toddler years are rough, let me tell you. So, I digressed a little bit. My point is, like, if the things you normally would do, to be prepared and prioritize and set your boundaries when or in preparation for things like this, if those are not put in place beforehand, then things like yesterday, what would have been like me just getting in the door, now that sets me back like 15-20 minutes, and I live in the valley. Traffic's usually really bad, especially around that time, around like anywhere between 7 and 9. It sucks. So that always adds more time. There's always an accident on the freeway. It's crazy, and I am very fortunate. I have very understanding employers and coworkers and patients. They're like, hey, you got kids, you're doing your best, but it's not the way I prefer it. So part of it is making sure everything else goes to speed. And that kind of comes to this point, why this doesn't really always fall into place. And this is one of my imperfections. I expect a lot out of myself. At night, I always want to make sure our house is tidied up, but I'm pretty ambitious. I'm enrolled in a bunch of online courses and always want to brush up on this and that. I'm an amateur crypto investor, not in the past like year and a half, not at all, but like, I'm always looking to like further our family interests or do something to grow. And the only time I have the energy for that, the only time I have the time for that, and like hopefully the energy, is in the evening. And that's where you start burning the candle at both ends. And I'm gonna throw a rock here. I think there's a little bit of this toxic positivity, toxic motivation thing going on when you see stuff online, like just grind and hustle and work hard. To a certain extent, yes, that's true. You hear about that legendary Michael Jordan game. He played through these flu-like illnesses, and we tend to worship that. But honestly, I think that's a little stupid. Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan. Nobody else is Michael Jordan. Don't try to be him. Like, aspire to do the best you can, but realize you have human limitations, and you have to respect that. You have to respect your health. That's what gets you the consistency. Consistency wins. And that's the thing that I need to tell myself too. So again, I digress, but this all factors into me being sick and also adding a lot of the stresses to my life. When it comes to this kind of stuff, like, filter out the things that craft a lot of, or trigger a lot of emotional responses, like not non-logical, irrational emotional responses that you get online, and really dive back to what makes you you. It's a fine line, because sometimes we seek for guidance, and this is where sometimes you might need to pay for a mentor, pay for guidance, find people to surround yourself with, instead of like blindly following like these taglines. And That's the thing about like Instagram. And yes, it's a little ironic that I'm putting this online on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, and it's a long reel here. But you see these little quick snippy things like, the average employee works 40 hours a week. The entrepreneur works 60 hours or whatever to get success, and you become a millionaire and blah, blah, blah. And those like little memes and graphics. That's all nice to think about, but there's a true cost behind all of it. And I'm not saying that's the whole thing behind it, because it isn't, but that does create these stress responses and behaviors that might not be that helpful. And that might result in things like you and your family being sick and not really taking care of it in a very timely fashion here. I may be wrong about all of this. Let me know what you think. Let me know if this is helpful. Again, just to summarize, how to manage when you and your family are being sick. Number one, try to be prepared in advance for things like this, because it will inevitably happen. Number two, prioritize. Figure out what's most important at the moment, and then what's most important tomorrow, and then what's most important like for the next week. And that really comes down to health. Energy and vitality is the most important currency, and then it's your time, and then it's your money and all that other stuff. But you got to have the capacity for it. So number two is priorities there. And number three is setting boundaries. And number four, just the bonus here, just to summarize, is making sure that you filter out the stuff that isn't I guess I didn't really verbalize this well here. Filter out these toxic mindsets and surround yourself by mentors and people who are going to guide you and help you maybe cultivate your thinking, craft it a little bit, guide you, rather than you like following a certain thing and then like perseverating and obsessing about it. The obsession may be helpful in some aspects, but also may guide you down the wrong path. Thoughts, comments, leave them below. Let me know if you thought this was helpful, and share this with anybody who might benefit from this information.